Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of Life with Shenita. I am Shenita Connolly, your host this evening, and I am delighted that you are joining us this evening. I am equally as excited to have a conversation with some amazing men from the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. And if you know me or you've talked to me a few times, you know that I truly admire the men from this organization. I think there's something special about them that stands out to me. I've seen them in all aspects of life, whether it's personal, professional, in the community. And so I'm just delighted that 5 of them said yes to a conversation with me. And so I will have 4 of them that will be joining me right now and one that will come in later. But I'd love for you all to like and share this broadcast so that others may see it and gain some knowledge or just be inspired by the conversation. Again, thank you for joining us last week for the 2-year anniversary show. We had a blast last week. And as always, my desire is to help people choose to live a vibrant life beyond the challenges that we all face, because we all face challenges in this life, on this journey. And so we have to choose to live beyond the challenges. And so I'm grateful to be a part of the inspiration that goes throughout the social media pages of Facebook and my YouTube channel. So without further delay, let's talk about this topic tonight, which is the alpha man. So I did a little research, as I always do. And so the Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated is the first intercollegiate, historically African-American fraternity. It was initially a literary and social studies club organized in the 1905-1906 school year at Cornell University, but later evolved into a fraternity with the founding date of December 4th, 1906. What is an Alpha Phi Alpha known for? They have long stood at the forefront of the African American community's fight for civil rights through leaders such as W.E. Du Bois, Adam Clayton Powell Jr., Edward Brooke, Martin Luther King Jr., Thurgood Marshall, Andrew Young, William Gray, Paul Robeson, and so many others. And so, what is the Alpha Phi Alpha man? And so in my further research, I learned that to be an alpha man means more than just to wear a pin. It requires an intrinsic quality that those qualities are developed deep within. It calls for a lasting brotherhood, a word sometimes used in vain, and we know that to be true. It means an honest devotion, not anticipation of personal gain. And so that is probably some of the reasons why I'm drawn to them. So I just really have admired them, as I said, over the years. And I thought, you know what? I want to have a show specifically for the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity men. And so without further delay, I'd like to introduce you all to 4 outstanding men. First of all, I'd like to bring before you Mr. Andrew Snorton. Good evening, Andrew.
Hey, good evening. Thanks for having me on, and thank you for that wonderful introduction. And of course, to your amazing audience, we hope you're having a good evening, and we're looking forward to tonight.
Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. Mr. James Rayner Sr., welcome.
Welcome. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to having this conversation. Love talking about alpha.
Yes. And Brother John Brinson. Let's bring him in.
Good evening, everybody. I am happy to be here, and I'm happy to talk about Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated.
Yes, thank you so much. And last but certainly not least is a young man that I actually mentored when I had my first summer camp in 2003. He was about 12 years old, and I have watched him matriculate through life. And he's now a husband, he's an educator, he's an alpha. And so I'm so proud of Mr. Dayron Martin. So, welcome to the platform.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be here. I'm excited to be here with my brothers and once again to talk about Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated.
Yes, yes, yes. Shout out. Oh, wow. One of my favorite guests of the show, husband is a alpha. So shout out to Henry. So thank you so much, Juana, for chiming in and watching. So, gentlemen, let's introduce yourselves. Let's start with a brief introduction of who you are as a man, and then we'll get into you as an alpha. But tell us who you are, starting with you, Andrew.
Okay, well, real briefly, in regards to who I am professionally under my business, Creative Community Solutions, I have an education-based service where I do in-person tutoring, virtual tutoring, student coaching for elementary, middle, and high school students. I also handle ACT and SAT prep for a couple of the high schools, as well as some high school students I'm working with currently. So shouts out to them. Under the press and media end, I have a partnership with Status Network, where my show, The Conversation Corner, airs every second and fourth Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on platforms like Roku, Amazon Fire Stick, social media, and more. And likewise, I do handle press and media for different businesses, authors, things along those lines. And one of the events I'll talk about later, the Alpha Derby weekend. And finally, under the writing services, I've actually helped edit a few authors' books. I've written 3 of my own and recorded 5 audiobooks since 2017. So that's a little bit of a snapshot of me. And I'll say, grew up in New Jersey. Well, actually born in Illinois, grew up in New Jersey, collegiately attended Wake Forest University, and the youngest of 2. So that's a little bit about me. And I'm based in the Metro Atlanta area.
All right. Awesome. Thank you. Mr. Rayner, would you share with us a little bit about who you are?
Certainly. I am James D. Rayner Sr. Currently I am retired, but I started as an entrepreneur. I started a food truck business. So that's what I'm doing currently. But as far as our relationship with the Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, I'm currently serving as president of the Pi Gamma Lambda chapter, affectionately known as the Clayton County Alphas. Thank you.
I love it. And you did say a food truck.
Correct. It's actually a Philadelphia water ice truck, but we also carry snacks as well.
Okay. So where are you going to be this week?
This week, I'm down in Fayetteville at the Awkward Brewing facility in Fayetteville, Georgia.
Okay. Awesome.
If you follow us on our Instagram, we post where we are every week.
Awesome. Awesome. That's awesome. All right. Next up, Mr. Brinson, who I feel like I grew up with in Clayton County.
Well, actually, Shenita, you were already in place. I joined the team some time ago, and it was because of your efforts working with our youth, our Leadership Institute. We were able to thrive in Clayton County. So kudos to you. But a little about me. I'm John Brinson. I'm the executive director for the Clayton Collaborative Authority, which is a nonprofit, quasi-governmental agency. We're a hybrid. We work with nonprofits. We work with local government, the churches, and community stakeholders, to include DFACS, Health Department, the Board of Ed, Clayton County Public Schools. I like to say we are that organization. There's a person like me in every county throughout the state of Georgia. We're part of the Family Connections Partnership umbrella. I am the Family Connections Coordinator for Clayton County. We impact families and children, no matter what it is. We're that organization that you bring to the table. Why? Because a number of my board members are decision makers in the county. That includes the Clayton County Board of Commissioners, the public health director, the director for DFACS, the Clayton County Public Schools. All of their leaders sit on my board. So when it comes to making decisions in Clayton County, to include the chairman of the Board of Commissioners, I'm able to get answers. I'm able to get some decisions by bringing my partners to bear on whatever the problems are. I really love what I do. And my motto and my organization's motto is help as many people as you can while you can.
Yes, you said that well. That's it. That's the key. Thank you. Last but certainly not least, Mr. Dayron Martin.
Yes, ma'am. As has been stated, my name is Dayron Martin. I am an educator in Gwinnett County Public Schools, where I teach at Lanier High School. I teach specifically in the Center for Design and Technology, which is a STEM academy that I got the awesome opportunity to become the lead of in not so many long years of teaching. And it's really been a joy to really get to see and empower young people to see what they can do in technology and science, and see how they are getting that step above by getting so many 21st century and real world skills. So that's been a joy. I work with the county and create district assessments and standardized tests. I lead the chemistry team at my school. Outside of school, I'm also a minister at my church, where I help facilitate leadership and ministerial training and things of that sort. So I love to empower people. I love to talk to youth. I love to just see people grow and thrive. And I am a member of the Rocap Atlanta chapter, which is also affectionately known as the Gwinnett Alpha.
I love it. And a newlywed.
Yes.
Yes. So thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much again for agreeing to be a part of this conversation this evening. And so I thought about an icebreaker, but you know what? You guys have broken the ice really for me. So I have a question, and any one of you guys can answer this. Why do alphas say ice cold? Who wants to take a stab at that one?
Hey, I don't know. We'll go by who's the most seasoned brother in the room.
Mr. Rayner?
All right. I guess that'll be me. It all started on a real cold Tuesday back in 1906.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we got that name.
There, I concur. All hard.
Now let me see if that's what my paperwork says. So is that really it?
That's truly it.
Yeah.
Okay. And so
that plus one of our founders, they're called the Jewels, and Verner Woodson Tandy, Jewel Verner Woodson Tandy said, "We will fight until hell freezes over, then we'll fight on the ice." And he was truly a warrior. He served in the military, and he was a leader of men. So that coupled with when I look at those foundational platforms, that concrete that was laid when they started our organizations, you look at individuals like that and you say, oh, now I get it. That's why we do what we do.
Awesome. And during my research, I came across this explanation. And this one was from a chapter founded in, and they probably were just coming up with a reason. But this was Alpha Rho chapter of the Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity. The chapter was founded at Morehouse University in 1924. And it said, it probably means something like amazed. At the completion of a show, the step team end with the routine and end by saying we are ice cold. So does that sound familiar to y'all? Any?
I'm
That
gonna
sound like
go. I'm just.
folklore.
Go ahead.
I'll stick with the Ice Cold Tuesday in 1906.
We concur. We're just stick with Brother
Yeah.
Rayner's. And
I can't check with a brother to see if that was true or not.
And I love how y'all all said I concur. So that means we are sticking what? Together. I love it. I love it. So tell me a little bit about the Alpha Phi Alpha motto. You know, somebody, anybody.
Take it, Prince.
Our motto is, first of all, servants of all, we shall transcend all. And it's very apparent that who we are. First of all, we were that first organization at the college level. One of the things that we really push in our organization is servants of all. If you look at those organizations that were started here in America, the Niagara Movement, NAACP, Urban League, Alphas were there at its birth, at its inception. And as you look at our history, Black history here in America, especially after 1906, in the mix, you're going to find us, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Mm-hmm. So when you're looking at our motto, it is able to hold us to a standard, but probably the biggest thing for us is we shall transcend all, regardless of the circumstance or situation. Alpha is there to help in every stage of moving it, whatever it is, where it needs to be, getting it, birthing it, and then moving on to the next issue. That's who we are as an organization.
Awesome.
Brothers, did I
Anybody
deviate, brother?
Yeah. I was going to say, do you concur? Do you want to add something to it?
I think
Sometimes
you said it all.
When they hit the nail on the head, you don't keep hammering it. You already.
I love it, and I love your motto. It says, first of all, because you were the first fraternity. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yes.
Servants of all, meaning everybody you're concerned about.
Correct.
And we shall transcend all. I really love that motto. So I learned a lot doing my little research, because I didn't know all the little things about this fraternity, but I knew there was something different about the alpha man or all the alpha men that I've met along the journey. So kudos to your fraternity. So with that being said, I would like for each of you to share with me what drew you to become an Alpha Phi Alpha man versus a Kappa, like my brothers, or a Omega. What drew you to this particular fraternity over all others? Dayron, would you like to start?
Absolutely. So as I was growing up, Miss Shenita kind of knows my situation. My father passed when I was very, very young, and I saw some struggles. I did. And as I continued to grow older, it was important to me that I had a blueprint for what I believed a man should be, how he should carry himself. And as I looked around and saw men that I wanted to emulate, I realized that many of them were alpha men. And so as I continued to get a little bit older, a few of them shared about the fraternity with me and gave me something to look towards. And so as I started looking towards college, I really was like, okay, so what are these guys doing? What is it about? And how does that line up with my core values and my beliefs? Because I've always been somebody who was drawn to service. I've always been working at something. I don't know how to sit still. So just everything about this fraternity, its service, and then especially in this time, knowing how important it is to see heritage, knowing how important it is to see a lineage of Black men that are doing something in the community, that are making a difference, that are pushing the envelope forward for the betterment of our people. To me, that was really important for me to be a part of. And so it was my only choice. It's something that has always been a lifelong dream. And so to finally be able to say that I am a brother of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated was extremely meaningful to me.
I'm so proud of you. So, John, what drew you to the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity? Because I know your college was FAMU, is that right?
That is correct. Women. It was the women, pure and simple. No, I have to kid. For me, it was.
I love it.
I was in ROTC at FAMU, and a number of the leaders that were a part of the organization were alphas. And what I mean, we were cadets, of course. When I graduated, I went on to serve in the military as an officer, commissioned as a second lieutenant. But as a freshman, I'm standing out in the formation in ROTC, and not only were those gentlemen leaders in ROTC, but I noticed that there were 5 or 6 guys who were members of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be in the military, so I want to be like them, who they're leaders, so I must be an alpha. And the seed was planted my freshman year, and looking at how they participated, how they led, their interactions on campus. Our ROTC, we did a lot of things other than just be cadets. We served the campus in some way, shape, or form. They always came to us. And those alphas were the guys who were leading up those committees. Those were the guys who, if anything went down, they were looking at those particular cadets. So I was drawn to Alpha.
That's awesome. On FAMU's campus. Were you born and raised in Florida?
Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And I call it the fun and sun city of Fort Lauderdale. But when we got to Tallahassee is actually like South Georgia. So there is no change. For those of you who are from Georgia, there really isn't a difference between Tallahassee and Waycross, Valdosta, and South Georgia.
Yep. Somebody said SU, Southern University. When you said, oh, yes. I love it. And so, Brother Rayner?
Yes. So what drew me to Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated? I'm a service-oriented individual, and on my campus, the University of Illinois at Chicago, the Alphas dominated all of the community service that was going on in our immediate area. And so that drew me to work with a lot of alphas, and in having conversations and in doing the work, I was like, that's where I wanted to be. And they convinced me to go through the process back then. And it has been, well, next month will be 38 years. So it has been very rewarding, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
38 years you went through the process. Yeah. And I'm sure back then the process is nothing compared to today.
It was interesting. Yeah, it was quite interesting.
We want to let the cat out the bag.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the girls for you, but it was the service for you.
Well, the same thing with John. I too was in the ROTC. So I got a commission back in '83 and went in the military. And again, a lot of those individuals were alphas. So
I love it.
Like a natural progression.
I love it. Yeah. And last but certainly not least, Andrew Snorton. What drew you?
Well, for me, it all started at home. My dad, as well as my late uncle, Edward and Claude, were members through the Beta Mu, the Strong Arm chapter of Phi Alpha at Kentucky State University. And a little known fact is that chapter is the first undergrad chapter of Alpha in the state of Kentucky. And a lot of it was just seeing the examples of stewardship and outreach from home. My dad, being an ardent volunteer in the community, my deceased uncle Edward, high school football coach, ingrained in the community. Same with my uncle Claude. So I was very blessed to have examples at home just of what stewardship outreach and service looks like. When I got to the campus of Wake Forest University, the members of that chapter were balanced individuals. They handled their business in the classroom, and of course, having constructive, social outings. But the service piece, volunteering in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, at the Best Choice Youth Center on a regular basis, volunteering feeding the homeless at one of the homeless shelters, sometimes on a Friday, where people on a Friday are going out, hanging out, kicking it, and just seeing those examples were things that drew me to it. And then, just as Brother Rayner said, this actually last week, April 13th, celebrating 31 years as a member, and just that sense of being progressive, being proactive. That's part of the reason of being part of that charter member for our chapter in Duluth and a charter member for our chapter in Loganville, Conyers. So, there are other things that came along with it, but really the motivating factor is, you look at who your first teachers are, and that's what happens at home. So I'm very blessed to, for my dad and my uncles to have really set a tone for me.
Yeah, that's awesome to have that example right in your family. Yeah, that's awesome. All of you guys had great stories of what drew you. I mean, just amazing. So thank you for sharing that. And would you share like a highlight of your involvement thus far in the chapter, whether it was in your earlier years, your mid years, or later years, like one highlight that stands out? I know all of you guys have the common community service piece, but what else other than the girls, John? What else was a highlight?
Well, for me, I guess the highlight would be last year being instrumental in helping turning the state of Georgia blue, because Clayton County pulled it through.
Yes.
And we were on the boots on the ground with that. And I think for me, that was probably a really historic moment that I cherish.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I had a show, a political show last year with some candidates, and it was nice to see that transition. Yes. So kudos, Clayton County.
And we worked hard because Brother Warnock, even though we can't tell people, and we did not tell people who to vote, but when it came to boots on the ground, he could look to his left, look to his right. There were alpha men present out there holding signs. Again, we didn't tell people who to vote for, but we were out there saying you need to vote. So that was really important to us as a county.
Yes, absolutely. Anything else you want to add to that, John, in terms of another highlight for you along the journey?
For me, for the first time in my Alpha career, I'll reach 35 years come October of this year. Ooh. So for me, it was the first time I was back when we came through, it was the dean of pledges. Today, it's known as chapter dean or director for intake. Alpha Phi Alpha, we really strive to make good men. Well, me being the chapter dean, I was able to bring in, as a chapter dean, my first, what we would call a line. That was a highlight for me to see where they were to where they are right now, and still working with them and developing them to become great alpha men. And that's one of the things, not only alphas, but it's a holistic approach to that individual to the making of a better man. And that's something that we do. So highlight for me is there were 5 on the line, and just seeing them in the meeting, seeing how they're plugged in and beginning to do things, hitting the ground running. That's a great feeling for me. That's a
Yeah.
highlight for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Dayron, I know you're the baby of the crew, but
I am. A seasoned brothers on the call.
Yes.
But in the spring, on March the 16th, a new chapter was instated at Georgia Gwinnett College. It's the first student organization. It's the first Greek organization at that school. And so I helped my chapter, who's overseeing Phi Xi, chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, and to kind of talk to those gentlemen and try to get them. So, we've recently gone through all of this information where we learn about our jewels, these gentlemen who laid the groundwork for this fraternity that's still here 100 years later. And to try to get them to understand that, like, you're starting something. People's lives are going to be changed, because of this. Yeah, they're going to be fun and cookouts and all that other stuff, but you're starting something that's going to maybe change the trajectory of somebody's life. It might open doors for them that they might not even, have had the opportunity to go through had they not been a part of this organization, or just seen that example of what a strong, collegiate, focused Black man could be like. So going through that, I think, was really cool, and would have to, besides being initiated myself, one of the coolest things to see so far.
That is awesome. And just to think, I don't know that I even knew that you would be interested in becoming an educator when you were young. But just to watch you, matriculate over the years through middle, high school, college, now a husband. I'm just so proud of you.
Thank you.
Beyond the challenges that you faced as a young man, and you're standing strong. So kudos to you and all of you men on this platform. And we do have your brother, Fred Walker, that just joined, and I'm going to let him in, and we'll I'm going to ask him a question that I just posed to you guys about a highlight of the journey. So let's bring him in and introduce him. Good evening, Fred.
Oh, good evening. Sorry I am late.
That's okay. We understand the journey. I explained to them that you were traveling from work and you're in a different time zone. So it's okay. We're just glad that you were able to carve out time to be with us this evening. So welcome. And would you please introduce yourself to the audience? Tell them a little bit about who you are. As I said to the gentleman, please don't be afraid to pat yourself on the back. It's not, and I certainly don't take it as a brag moment. I take it as it is what it is, and you are sharing who you are.
All right. Well, good evening to the audience as well, especially to my fellow Alpha brothers that are out here this evening. My name is Brother Fred Walker. I am part of the Rho Nu Lambda chapter, which is out here in Carrollton, Texas. And I was initiated into the fraternity by way of the Gamma Delta chapter in the spring of 1992, which makes 30 years this year. So I'm glad to be able to see that.
Yes.
Get to that point. Wow. Right now, professionally, I currently work for a mortgage company as a home loan specialist. We do guideline review is where I specifically work. Which is basically where we take a loan, we review all the guidelines, make sure that every guideline of the company is met, but not only the company, but also the investors' guidelines as well. So if they're met, they move forward on to the closing, but if they're not met, we hold them up until whatever issue is going on gets solved. Then we'll send it through. Mm-hmm. If, once again, meets those guidelines.
I love it. And your husband.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. And actually, my wife is a member of Sigma Gamma Rho, who's celebrating their 100th year this year, the centennial year. So I'm looking forward to accompanying her up to Indianapolis, where they'll be celebrating in their boule this summer,
Yes,
as well
yes.
as in November. I'm not going to November. They're doing a special, very special thing on their Founders Day that weekend in November. But I told her, I said, I'll stay here. You go on up there and enjoy yourself. I'm not going to no Indiana when it's cold.
I know that's right.
I lived up there too many years, and I know what it's like when it's cold up there. It's like St. Louis. When it's cold, it stays cold for a while. So
Yes, yes. So Fred, tell us a little bit about or something about a highlight for you on your journey as an alpha. Is there something what drew you to become an alpha and a highlight?
Well, what really drew me to become an alpha, when I first hit campus at UAPB, of course, coming out of high school, there's really only one fraternity that everybody hears about, and that's the Qs. The Qs. And all that barking and all that stuff. So when I got on campus, I saw how they were, and they were exactly as I imagined them. No offense to them, but they were exactly how I imagined them.
Can I just jump in real quick?
Sure.
So me and my brother had a conversation this weekend about my niece's husband is a Omega, my nephew, and they were acting up. He said, "Yep, they act like dogs everywhere they go." No offense, but I'm just saying, barking. No offense to them.
Yes.
Yeah, they were cutting up.
Yeah. And down at UAPB, that was no exception. So when I got there, a lot of the guys that I started to meet and hang out with were alphas. In fact, several of them actually were going through the process when I got there as a freshman. They went through that process in the spring of '90, which was, of course, the last year that above ground was allowed. I see my brother there laughing and say, "Yeah, so you know about that above ground stuff." But yes, so I got to see all of that, and got to see how they were once they were done, and got to see what the chapter was doing on campus. And I'm like, okay, I kind of like what they're doing, because it's basically the biggest reason why I chose Alpha was because of the simple fact that I could see that was the fraternity I could best see myself as a part of. And of course, there are great men, a lot of great men in this particular fraternity. I mean, there's great men in all of them. Don't get me wrong. There's plenty of great men in all of them, but it's just something about Alpha. It's just something. At the time, it was just like, this is the organization I need to be a part of. And if they didn't take me, then I wouldn't have gone no other way. So
awesome.
It was either Alpha or nothing.
So do you have? I'm glad you are one as well. Do you have a highlight on the journey that sticks out or stands out more than any?
Oh, wow.
In your 30 years, is there one something?
Actually, you know what? There is, ironically enough. Because I've never been, because when I crossed in '92, right after that, there was a Greek show. It was the following year. We called it the End of the World Greek Show. And this was done by Theta Psi chapter out of University of Central Arkansas. It was in Little Rock. Well, the chapter is in Conway, but the show was in Little Rock. And I guess I call that the biggest highlight because of the fact that they dressed me up in a costume. And I was walking around on stage. No one actually recognized me, thank goodness. Although people were trying to look and see, like, who is that in there? Who is? Because I was my part was handing out candy. I wasn't stepping. I wasn't much of a stepper. So I'm just being honest. So I had a little bit of rhythm, but just not that much. Just not good. Just not like they had.
Everybody don't have it.
They sure don't.
Yeah.
Lack or otherwise. Just because I may not have that much rhythm, don't mean I ain't got no less soul up in me. So, still got plenty of soul. Believe that. But yeah, I call that a highlight because that was the first time I actually stepped out of my comfort zone. Because normally I would not have even considered doing that, getting into a costume, let alone getting on stage in front of a bunch of people, and some of whom that I knew. And when they found out who I was, or who was in that costume, of course, they ragged on me a little bit because I was running around like that. But I said, hey, I'm just doing it for the bros.
Right.
The brothers were stepping. That was my job. So I did my part.
Right.
I appreciate it was fun though.
I appreciate that. And so with that being said, I've heard you all say what drew you to the fraternity. What was a highlight of the fraternity? And I'd like for you all to just share with me how your fraternity has truly enhanced you professionally and personally. Like, how has it taken you from being a college student, if you pledged in college, or grad student, or on whichever level, to where you are today? Were people instrumental along the journey to help you get from one place to another? Your brothers, your association, what was that like professionally and personally, being a part of this fraternity as you matriculated through life? Because I heard some people say 39 years, some people say 30 years, 35 years. So that's a long journey to be a part of something. How has it enhanced your life? Andrew.
I'll start. And I didn't get a chance to talk about the highlight, but I'll incorporate that.
Okay.
I think in regards to the underlying theme of leadership and service is probably a continuum for everybody in here. When I look at what I've been able to do professionally, community-wise, from having served as a graduate chapter president of our chapter in Duluth, Georgia, having served as president of our National Alumni Association Wake Forest University Black Alumni, just finishing 4 years of serving on the board of School of Divinity, from nonprofit work with the Lead Foundation with our fraternity brother Michael Woodward, even the work taking place with the Alphas of Atlanta, and even with the upcoming event, the Alpha Derby weekend. The underlying themes of leadership and service are things that really become an extension of who you are and eventually a part of who you are. It's almost as if you have it in you, but through our respective individual experiences, our experiences through where we were initiated, it just hits a little bit different and it moves a little bit differently. You think about those of us who are in public service, doing work in education, doing work in the government sector. I think just the way you go about your business, and it's more than just, like people say, getting the bag. It's about leaving people in a more empowered position than when you engaged with them. And just understanding, just like through Alpha, that allowed us to tap into different skill sets and talents that we might not have thought we had. Well, we can leave a part of that and leave a positive footprint with the work that we do. So it's just more of that underlying. So it's hard to pick one example, but like I said, just that underlying message of leadership, stewardship, service, outreach, empowerment, and understanding, as when we pause and take inventory of our laurels, we don't rest on those. We understand there's still further to go. There's still more to do. Just like others before us push, we have to continue to push and raise that and empower as many as possible along the way.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because that really is should be all of our goal, to leave an impact, make life better for others. So thank you for that. Brother Rayner?
Yes. So for me, from a professional standpoint, when I left the military, I joined the police department here in Atlanta. And I encountered so many youth that were just thrown away, lost to the streets. And that inspired me to open a youth center, which I ran for 18 years. And I shut down during COVID. But allowing me to connect with brothers that would come and help or assist me with helping change the lives of children, I think, connected me with Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated and my community. And I love doing both. And so for me, that's what it was.
I love it. Changing lives, one youth at a time. And particularly because we have so many young men whose fathers were not present. My son, who is serving time in prison, his dad was not in the home growing up. Not that that was the main reason, because mom did a whole bunch to keep him out of that. But men like yourself who were a role model and were intentional about changing lives. Kudos to you. John? You're on mute.
For me, being engaged in the work of Alpha, my influences locally here when I got to Atlanta, the first job I had was at the airport. There was a brother there. I was, after I left the military, I made a beeline for Atlanta because Atlanta was the Black Mecca. And, you know, I wanted to be somewhere. I was out in the Midwest, and that was definitely not a Mecca for us. So I made a beeline here for Atlanta. So at the time, Maynard Jackson was mayor. Vic Carter was on the news. One of the individuals in our history book, Hamilton Holmes, they were all members of Ada Lambda chapter. And I'm looking around and I'm like, oh, wow. So that individual at the airport looked out for me. He literally grabbed my hand, but I think he was trying to get that reclamation money. But he literally grabbed my hand and said, come on, brother. I need you to come to the meeting. Come on, brother. Hey, we got these opportunities for you. And as I look back over my career and a number of the things that I've done, highlights for me have always involved Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity in some way, shape, or form, whether it was being, you know, when I was coaching, whether it was when I was engaged in work at the church. Those types of things, Alpha has always been there for me. And even now, I work with the chief operating officer in Clayton County. That's Dietrich Stanford. He's a brother.
And he's an Alpha. Yeah,
He's
I was hoping
Alpha.
he would have joined us tonight, but I guess his schedule didn't allow. But yes.
Oh, no, don't worry. I will be harassing him. But and he's also a Clayton County Alpha as well. But yes. But the question is about how has it really impacted me and where has it got? I would not be, there are pronouns that describe us. He, she, whatever. You got to put Alpha in there. You know, it's a pronoun as well. It's a noun, but it's a pronoun. So when you're putting that stuff out there, mine is Alpha. So I self-identify as Alpha. So does that help? Does that answer the question?
Yes. Thank you. So it, you know, I'm sure you're, you know, I just heard you say the man who took you under his wing when you got here and really wanted to make sure you were connected, and he was looking out for you. So I'm sure that, I guess, incubation or coddling, or however you would say, helped you navigate to where you are today. It helped you as you transition from the Midwest to Atlanta. So being a part of that brotherhood contributed to where you are and what you're doing in this county for many, many years. Since what year did you become a part of the Collaborative Authority? It was it 2004, 2005?
actually 2006,
Okay.
and I remember walking through. I think you were on the grassroots leadership board
Mhm,
at that
mhm,
time, and
mhm.
that was wow. It's been a long time,
Yeah,
Shanique.
yeah. Because I became a part of that grassroots in 2004.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it was a great journey, and I'm grateful for my journey. You know what I mean? Yeah, and all the dots connecting. Dayron, how has, so far, your affiliation with the fraternity enhanced your life professionally and personally?
So professionally, it's allowing me to extend my reach into the youth in the community of Gwinnett County. Like I said, that's really my drive, is being able to empower youth, especially our young Black men. And so I have really appreciated just all of the opportunities. Our chapter does special work with young men also who have charges, allowing them to get some mentorship and some help on how can we not go down that path again,
Mhm.
and give them a new start. And so I appreciate that. Personally, I guess I could have used this as my moment, but it wasn't a moment for me as a brother. So I was initiated in the fall, and this was my second try to become a member of Alphi Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated through the Rho Kappa Lambda chapter. And the reason that I did not go through the first time is because my mother got sick, and I know, Ms. Shenita, you're
Mhm.
special to my mom, but
Mhm.
I was actually trying at that time, and the brotherhood that I was shown at that moment told me that this was something that I definitely wanted to be a part of. And so it just has continued to be there. My brothers have continued to be there for me, and it set up that standard for how are you there for somebody, brother or not? How can you be there for somebody? How can you help them get to where they need to be? How can you get resources to them? How can you stand in somebody's corner effectively? How can you use the resources and the connections that you have to elevate somebody else? And so, I thank God that I had people who did that for me, but I also kind of go through life with that lens now. Is how can I do that for somebody else
Yes.
in a greater way with more resources?
Yes. It's so important. And I get calls like all the time, for resources. And I make myself available to give back and to help all the time, because that's what I think that we are here for, not just for ourselves, but a service unto others, to make a difference, leave an impact. So when I leave this earth, I want people to say, I remembered her because she served us well. So thank you. Fred, if you would come off mute, and how has, quickly, because we're running out of time, but how has your affiliation with the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity enhanced your life personally and professionally?
Well, professionally, when I first moved to Texas, I met several brothers at the job that I had at the time, and just seeing them and meeting them and having lunch with a few of them really helped me to build my network a little bit, to try to meet more professional brothers like me, and especially in the field that I was in. Of course, it's still the mortgage industry, but just with a different company. But still, it's great. It's gratifying to know that there are many other brothers in the same field that I'm in, and I was able to ask various questions as far as the field, as far as what it's like, and how they deal with the daily grind and everything else. So learning from them really helped my career professionally in this industry. Personally, well, I'll put it like this. Of course, I pledged in college, so I didn't really know a whole lot about the grad chapters or anything, because I didn't even know they existed. I didn't know that for a long time until after I was actually getting ready to leave St. Louis when I was living up there for a while. I found out there was a grad chapter up there that could have joined. I didn't even know about it. But then again, it's probably a good thing I didn't, because life for me at that time, just, things weren't quite together the way I wanted them to be at the time. So when I did move to Texas, something just kept gnawing at me. Like, I need to do something with this, because here I am, a member of this fraternity, and I'm really not doing anything with it. All I got is the letters and T-shirts and stuff like that, paraphernalia. And it's like, I need to do something. So that's when I sought out the chapter that I'm a part of. And ever since then, they've definitely put me to work. They've definitely put me to work. I mean, we do all sorts of community service projects, just like my brothers on this platform. It's really good to be, not only to do the community service projects that we do, and of course the mentoring and all of that, but also have that camaraderie. Yes. Just being with the brothers and everything y'all doing. We're doing everything. We're doing this together and everything, and it just feels good. Yeah. It just feels good to be able to just do all the service. And that's the big takeaway for me is service. Yes, doing the service with highway cleanup, Special Olympics, Ronald McDonald House, all that stuff. It just makes me feel good to be able to do something for others and give back. Awesome.
Well, as we prepare to close, I appreciate everything that you guys have said. I hope that it is giving others a nice view of this fraternity, and inspiring others to even look into becoming a part of this fraternity. But I'd like for you guys, as we prepare to close, because I know that you guys are all involved in different things, and I'm sure that there is something coming up that maybe you'd like to share, whether it's with the fraternity or with your business. I want to give you guys a round robin to be able to do that as we prepare to close out. So if there's something that you'd like to share that's coming up that you want people to be a part of, please share that.
Sure, I'll jump in real quick. We'd like to extend an invitation not only to those in Metro Atlanta, but beyond, to be a part of the Alpha Derby weekend. This is the annual Kentucky Derby themed event that the Alphas of Atlanta host. It'll take place May 6th through 8th, 2022. We are so excited to announce that the golf tournament that takes place on Friday, as well as our Sunday brunch, are sold out. So the only things you can get tickets for will be the Friday evening fashion show featuring the designs of Miguel Wilson. Then immediately following will be the kickoff party featuring classic hip hop artist Slick Rick. And then Sunday will be the main event for the watching, viewing, and a few other surprises. To get more information, please visit the website of alphaderbyweekend.com. And for businesses out there, our business sponsorships start at $150, and that allows you exposure to not only people here, but about a third of our guests travel from outside the state of Georgia. So we extend that. But the best thing about that is what I mentioned earlier. The proceeds are donated to multiple nonprofits throughout the Metro Atlanta area. So a lot of the community projects that you've heard tonight, these are the things that we support. So we invite you to be a part of the winner circle May 6th through 8th.
Awesome. That's what got my attention years ago with you, is the Alpha Derby. So thank you for being involved, and I'm glad that it's back post-COVID. Well, not post-COVID, but on the other side.
Yes.
So anyone else would like to share anything that's coming up with the audience? No one has anything else coming up?
No, I concur with Brother Snorton. I'm also on the Alphas of Atlanta committee.
Okay, okay.
And thank you, Brother Rayner. And I'd say really, please pay attention to the ticker stuff on the bottom. That way, if this is the first time you've connected with all of us, please don't let it be the last. I think that's probably the best way to say, hey, look, we've got stuff coming up on the horizon, but there's a reason why that ticker's going. Please connect. And also, of course, please support this show and this platform. Please do.
Thank you. Anyone else want to share anything before we close out? I would like for you guys, John.
I got my Derby tickets.
We thank you.
And if you guys, I want you to take just like 30 seconds to leave them with a word of inspiration. And we're going to start with Andrew. We're going to start with you. 30 seconds or less. Share a word of inspiration.
Sure thing. Whether slow or swift, movement is movement. Whether small or big, a victory is a victory. So keep moving and keep being victorious.
Brother Rayner?
I'll say this. Always put service over self. Put service over self. Thank you.
I love it. John?
Real simple. First of all, servants of all, we shall transcend all.
I love it. Fred, I'm going to come to Dayron last since he's the baby of the bunch.
I'll say this. As hard as you work to get, you have to work even harder to keep. So always maintain.
Love it. Love it. Last but certainly not least, we know that there's some wisdom from all of you all, and I know there's some for the young man, the youngest man of the group.
Absolutely. Just know that God has placed you wherever you are for a specific reason. Something is in your hand that you can use. So wherever you find an opportunity to use it, use it. Help somebody, look for those opportunities, and walk in whatever you're supposed to be doing.
Yes, yes. And that's what I say whenever I'm serving at work, and even in my marriage, me and my husband, we were servants to each other. We understood that we are serving each other's needs, whatever level that is. Even on my job, when someone says thank you, I say it was my pleasure to serve. And so when we think about it in that way, we're able to help people regardless to whether it's personal or professional. So I just want to thank you all for being here with me, sharing this hour with me, to share your brotherhood. And so hopefully someone else is inspired by these fine alpha men. And I don't think there's only one on here that's single. I wonder who. So if you're wondering, it's only one. So I'll let you guys guess who that might be. But please, please, please like and share the broadcast. And thank you again for tuning in today and each Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, Life with Shenita is here to help people choose to live a vibrant life beyond the challenges that they face, because we all face them, and use our pain for purpose. And so next week, I'm delighted to have with me Jalinda Wade, who is Dwayne Wade's mother. I call her Mama Wade, and she is going to talk about better health, better me, which as most of you guys know, that I have been in this transformational stage of my life trying to regain my health back. And so I'm trying to make wholesome connections with people who share those same goals as I do. And so I'm grateful to God for all of the connections that he's blessing me with. And you guys are certainly a part of that connection. So thank you so much. And thank you, audience. And you guys have an amazing evening. And we'll see you next Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a good evening.
You as well.
All right. Good evening.
Thanks for having us.